What if Esther chose comfort over courage? What if she said, "Someone else will speak"? What if fear silenced the very voice that God himself placed inside the palace? One decision. One moment. What if Esther had stayed silent, and an entire nation paid the price? And here's the harder question. What if God placed you exactly where you are, for the very same reason? Let's quickly set the scene. Esther was a Jewish woman, an orphan, living in a pagan empire. Through a series of events she never saw coming, she becomes the queen. She's elevated to a position of power and influence, but her true identity remains a secret. Then comes the danger. A high-ranking official, Haman, issues a decree to annihilate her entire people. The date is set. The order is signed. For Esther, silence would have been the safer option. Staying hidden would have meant self-preservation. To speak up, to reveal her identity and confront the king could have cost her everything, including her life. But here's the thing. Esther wasn't called because she was ready. She was positioned because God is sovereign. Her place in the palace wasn't an accident. It was a divine appointment. God had a plan, and Esther was standing right in the middle of it. Now, imagine the cost of her silence. If she had chosen to stay quiet, what would have happened? There would have been no intercession for her people. No one to stand in the gap at that critical moment. There would have been no miraculous deliverance, no story of God turning the tables on the enemy. And there would have been no powerful testimony of God's faithfulness and his ability to save. Her silence would have been a void where a miracle was meant to be. This is exactly what her cousin Mordecai warned her about. He sends her a message in Esther chapter 4, verse 14, and it's one of the most powerful lines in the entire Bible. He says, "For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this?" Think about that. Mordecai's words are a crucial reminder. Silence doesn't stop God's plan, but it may stop you from being part of it. God is faithful. He will accomplish his purposes. He will save his people. The real question is, will he do it through you? Or will you, out of fear or comfort, forfeit the opportunity to be used by him in an extraordinary way? God was going to bring deliverance, with or without Esther. But by stepping out in faith, she got to be the vessel for that deliverance. She got to witness his power firsthand. Her silence would have cost her that divine partnership. So how does this ancient story connect to our lives today? You and I have Esther moments all the time. Maybe not with a king and a kingdom on the line, but the principle is the same. An Esther moment might look like speaking truth with kindness when everyone else at work is gossiping. It might look like standing for righteousness in your family, even when it's uncomfortable. It could be sharing your faith with a friend, despite the fear of how they'll react. Or simply choosing obedience to God over the approval of people. Here is an encouraging truth to hold on to. You don't need a crown to have a calling. You don't need a fancy title to make an eternal impact. And you definitely don't need to have all the answers or feel complete certainty to be obedient. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is obedience in the presence of fear. Esther was afraid. We know she was. But she chose to act anyway. That's the kind of courage God honors. Your platform might be your office, your home, your neighborhood, or your social media feed. God has positioned you right where you are, with your unique voice and influence, for a reason. Let's not forget Esther's humanity in all of this. She wasn't a superhero. The Bible is beautifully honest about her fear. When Mordecai first asked her to go to the king, her initial response was basically, "I can't. It's against the law. He could kill me." She was terrified, and rightfully so. So what did she do? She didn't rush in with false bravado. First, she asked her people to fast and pray for her for 3 days. She leaned on her community, and most importantly, she leaned on God. She didn't rely on her own strength or her own cleverness. She surrendered the outcome to God before she ever took a step. This is so encouraging for us. God never asked Esther to be fearless. He asked her to be faithful. He asked for her obedience, not her perfection. And here is the promise for you and me. God strengthens those who step out in faith. He meets our fragile obedience with his infinite grace. He honors a heart that is surrendered to him, even when that heart is trembling with fear. Your weakness is not a disqualifier. It's an invitation for God's strength to be made perfect in you. So now, let me speak directly to you for a moment. Maybe God has been gently nudging your heart about something, a conversation you need to have, a step of faith you need to take, a truth you need to speak. And maybe you've been quiet because, honestly, it's just easier, it's safer. Maybe you're afraid of being rejected or losing something or being misunderstood. I get it, we all feel that. But let me ask you this, what if your voice is the answer to someone else's prayer? What if your small act of obedience is the very thing God wants to use to bring hope or freedom or encouragement to someone else? You might be thinking your voice is too small, too insignificant. But God used Esther's voice to save a nation. He doesn't need a loud voice, just a willing one. Esther spoke and history changed. One voice. One moment of decision. One obedient step forward. Her story echoes through generations as a testament to what God can do with a single person who says yes to Him, even in their fear. You were placed right where you are in this moment in history for such a time as this. Don't stay silent. God is with you. If this message encouraged you, please share it with someone who needs a little courage today. Thanks for watching.